is I worked as a Brookings Fellow for Senator Carl Levin for a year on his personal staff, and then for the Secretary and the Chief of Staff of the Air Force and Air Force Senate Liaison. And just before I left the Senate, I found out that there was an aircraft mishap in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, where a large aircraft went off the end of the runway at a high rate of speed, went through a wall, burst into flames. 3 people died, 7 people survived, and they were denied medical care from the Air Force because of their status as reservists. I thought that was wrong. I worked on both sides of the aisle, both in the House and the Senate, and to their credit, they worked it through the committee process to provide those reservists and their families and all who followed what they needed. So why is my experience important? Because I can relate to everybody in the district because I served them and their families in this nation for over 30 years. Second, when I go to Congress, if you honor me with your vote and you send me there, I promise you I will be a leader of the freshman class and effective on the first day. And last but not least, we don't need another politician. We need a public servant, and that's what I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tracy Matrana.
I'm very grateful and honored to be here this evening because I believe that we all share the values of a belief in citizenship and democracy. And it is because of those values that I am running for Congress. It is because I believe those values are under threat from foreign powers who either want to destroy us or at the very least weaken us. And I believe that those values were under threat because of the many domestic challenges that we face. I have deep roots in this area. I grew up in the city of Rochester, and I have lived my entire adult life in the 23rd District. I understand its challenges. We must construct a meaningful healthcare policy to end unnecessary suffering and to heal this opioid crisis. We must make improvements in education that train youth for trades and vocations and for the contemporary workforce. We have to support post-secondary certification programs and open access to higher ed while unleashing students from usurious debt. We need to create a long-term environmental conservation plan and buttress the existing protections that are under attack. And finally, we must commit to a massive investment in an infrastructure that encourages job creation in a 21st century economy. We have a Washington insider who votes to advance the lives of his supporters and not his constituents. This district is ready for a candidate who actually represents them and who has a clear plan to bring opportunity back. I am that person. I have that plan, and I have a professional campaign staff to get that message and the vote out. Tom Reed will not go quietly, however. He's battle-tested, professionally coached, and ruthless. To be successful, we need a candidate who understands his strategy and his tricks. He belittles, he prevaricates, he tries to intimidate, but he does not intimidate me, and I will not let him intimidate us. We will expose his deceptive tactics. We will speak integrity to his disrespect, honesty to his lies, and courage to his fears. And we will unseat him on November 6th. Voters want a mature, passionate candidate with a progressive vision. Recent elections have shown that youth and women and independents, as well as crossover Republicans, are critical to that task. Democrats must get out the vote. My background and platform speak to the needs of these groups, evidenced by broad and healthy campaign donations, a petitioner framework that is already in place, and an expansive and committed volunteer base. But this election is not just about beating Tom Reed. It's also about electing a person with the ability to lead. My professional career involves federal policy, and I am dedicated to bringing its benefits back to the people of this district. Experience in large-scale competitive environments that require negotiation, consultation with stakeholders, and a balancing of interests mirrors the requirements of a congressional service. And with a timely expertise in cybersecurity, I believe I am your candidate and I am ready. But I first need your trust, your enthusiasm, your efforts, and your support. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Charles Whalen.
Thank you for being here this evening, and a huge thanks to our moderator and to the organizers. I came to the Finger Lakes as a 17-year-old to study labor relations at Cornell. I wanted an education that would enable me to promote harmony between employers and workers and stem the loss of jobs spreading through our industrial America. I got that education, and I met an extraordinary woman, Linda. She's been my wife for over 30 years. We have a wonderful daughter, Katie. We raised her here in Geneva, and she danced on this very stage. But all of that nearly didn't happen. And that's because when I was young, teachers told my parents, he's a good student, but he can't compete against those kids from the affluent side of town. Counselors told me, looked me right in the eye and said, you shouldn't be applying to a place like Cornell. One even said, who the hell do you think you are? Don't you know where you come from? In the end, I ignored the counselors. I persisted. I worked my way through Cornell, graduating early to save money, earned a PhD to defend working families like mine against the vicious falsehoods of trickle-down economics. And recently I was elected as the president of an international economics association working in the tradition of those who gave us the New Deal and the Great Society. Today, many say Tom Reed is a tough opponent, but the same determination that got me here this evening will see me through. And I told you about Brian Kolb. In 1992, Brian heard me speak on behalf of Doug Call, and he said, you should go into public service. It'll be interesting if he's on the ballot, and I am as well. Since the day I entered the race, I've been energizing voters across the district and across party lines. That's the way we win. My message of advancing our common interests resonates, and people know that standing up for working people, retirees, and their families reflects where I come from and what I've done throughout my career. The economic time bomb Republicans have placed into our tax system shreds our plans, threatens every issue that we care about. So today what we need more than anything else is a representative with the commitment and the experience to manage the budget, manage the economy, and do that in support of working families. That's why I'm in the race. On election night, other members will call me. They'll say, Charles, we need your guidance to defuse that tax time bomb. They'll call not just because I worked in the Congressional Budget Office responsible for taxes and spending and their effects on the economy, but also I testified before Congress back the first time, among many, when Tom Reed was still a student on budget gimmicks, budgets, and economic problems facing working families. And I have practical experience helping companies to save jobs and create new ones. But, you know, they'll also call me because there is only one other economist in the House of Representatives, a Republican libertarian with no practical experience. So tonight I'm asking you to join me. We'll change that. We'll actually put a practical economist into Congress. We'll repeal and replace Tom Reed. In the process, we'll remind Washington that Congress is our house and will create a brighter future. Now, finally, I'd like to close with an excerpt from an anonymous poem that my daughter read here on this stage as part of her valedictory speech to the Geneva High School class of 2007. It's called Today is Ours. The past is gone, don't rue it. Our work is here, let's do it. The world is wrong, let's right it. The battle is hard, let's fight it. The road is rough, let's clear it. The future is vast, don't fear it. Is faith asleep? Let's wake it. Today is ours, let's take it. Let the word go out from here across the district. 2018 is ours. Thank you, Geneva, my home.
Thank you. Rick Gallant.
As I mentioned before, I've been a public school teacher for the past 38 years. The last 18 in the Corning Painted Post School District. My wife is a retired third grade teacher and a retired elementary art teacher. My mom and dad were both teachers. What got me into this race is seeing Tom Reed at town halls and on TV talking about how much he was doing for the middle class of this district. Nothing could be further from the truth. At that point in time, they were proposing a budget that cut programs for kids. I already mentioned before and after school programs, free and reduced lunches, access to guidance counselors, psychologists, social workers, and because of the proposed cuts to Medicaid, speech therapists, and many other people that spent all their time helping kids have a chance to succeed. Yet Tom said he's all in for the middle class. He's cutting programs that give us affordable health care. He's making it harder for people to retire when they choose to, as opposed to when they have to. We need to raise the ceiling on Social Security. We need a Medicare for All program. We need to fully fund Medicaid. Those are the things that will help the middle class. We need to have a livable wage. We need to have access to education that doesn't bankrupt us. I mentioned before I have 2 grown daughters. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with the name of Navient or AES. We're paying those bills because they can't afford to. That's not right. We need to have access to free public tuition and 0% loans out of state or to private schools. We moved here 18 years ago and bought a whitewater rafting business. We need to ensure that our environment is not only maintained, but that we take it forward. We need to bring back and fully fund the EPA to make sure that the mistakes that were created in the past don't get worse in the future. We need to go back and voluntarily comply with all the things from the Paris Accord. We need to do everything we can to make sure that this beautiful area that we call home is just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, when that grandchild that I'm going to have for the first time in the summertime has an opportunity to enjoy all the things that I enjoy. We need to create jobs from the ground up. We need to get rid of these outlandish tax cuts. We need programs and taxes that the middle class can pay, and it will support the middle class. We need to make the people with the most pay the most. We need to explore other energy possibilities. I already talked about fossil fuels. We need to train those people in that industry into wind and solar power. We need to give all of our kids and all of our grandkids and their grandkids an opportunity to succeed. That's what a responsible society does. The biggest problem in Washington, dysfunction. On a daily basis, my entire adult life, I have taught people to collaborate. I have taught people to work with other people. I've taught them to work together for a common good. And I truly believe that if we all pull on the rope at the same time, in the same direction, we're going to be able to get back to that type of philosophy. So thank you all for coming out. Geneva is a great little city, and this has been a wonderful event. So thanks to all.
Let's give a round of applause to our 7 candidates.